Sally and I had been married for 3+ years. I was at a loss for what to do, but I knew I would find a solution or figure one out. Sally had suddenly taken on a nasty attitude about 6 months ago. There wasn't a gradual change, but I came back from one of my infrequent business trips and felt that the woman in my house was not the woman I married. She was disrespectful, downright insulting, and denying sex unless I started a fight about it. And had to say, my outlook on sex, unless I started a fight about it, I suspected that either she was cheating or someone was bad-mouthing me to her. I came home from another out-of-fate business trip on a spring Friday evening. Sally came down the stairs from the bedroom, dressed to kill, a little black cocktail dress. Obviously no underwear, because the dress was so tight that she had a hard time walking in it. Any underwear would have been visible, as panty and bra lines. She sat down next to me in the bedroom, and my mom told her to pee my slippers. She built and killed them on my foot. She also had on 4-inch high heel pumps, and the finishing touch, more makeup than she has worn since I met her. She said angrily, Oh, good, you cheating piece of I'm glad you're here before George comes to pick me up. I will not be back here tonight, so don't wait up. I was stunned. What in God's name are you talking about? I have never cheated on you, and just who in the is George? She refused to answer. I angrily added, if you go out tonight, I won't worry about you not being back in the morning. Once you walk out that door without me, you will never come back in this house. I was beyond angry, even though I was still confused. I continued, Oh, would you be so kind as to inform me who told you I was cheating on you, and when and where it was supposed to have happened? I don't have to tell your cheating ass anything. I was told by George you cheated, and he even has pictures. I will show you. She went to her purse and grabbed some pictures. I looked at the pictures and almost laughed. It did feel like a commercial for like the medication centers. You stupid, look at these pictures. That is my head on a 5'8" guy. He is Al, and he has a tattoo on his left arm. Look, you stupid, am I 5'9"? Am I tattooed? Is that the hairstyle that I have worn for 18 months? Who gave you the pictures and introduced you to this woman in this picture? Sally had a look of confusion, but after a moment, took a determined stance. George told me that you met Grace and her, and these pictures prove it. With that, the doorbell rang. I pushed around Sally and answered the door. You weren't supposed to be back until tomorrow, said a very surprised man in a sport coat and slacks. He looked confused and almost frightened. He stood about 5'9" to my 6'3". He was also reaching for something in his pocket with his left hand, and his shirt and jacket exposed enough of his wrist to show part of a tattoo. I grabbed his arm and slid the sleeve of his coat and shirt up. Look, you stupid. Isn't this the tattoo that is in those pictures? As I asked the question, a knife fell out of his pocket. Sally seemed to ignore me. Then she moved past me and said, Let's get going, George. This is going to learn the consequences of cheating. That they started down the walk. Stop! I shouted, and they did, then turned back to me. The neighbors came out on their porch. Sally, I will leave your clothes in the garage. I warned you that if you left, you wouldn't be able to come back. You made your decision. Just remember, I showed you that the pictures were fake, but you chose to ignore me. When you find out the truth, do not come crying to me, because you have just destroyed my love. And then I looked at George. Oh yes, George, if you think you got away with the on your arm without consequences, remember, payback is a stone. It may not come today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will come. You two have with the wrong person. They laughed nervously, and Sally gave me the one-finger salute as they walked toward a car parked to the curb. What a wonderful homecoming. My name is Grant Gorman. When the Friday surprise occurred, I was Friday surprise occurred? I was and am a systems troubleshooter and senior installer for a small but significant security software company. I am also a part owner because of bonuses and stock options. Sally did not know about the ownership or that I plowed back most of my bonuses to purchase more stock. I owned almost 15% of the voting stock, which was the most for a single shareholder except the company founder. The only people who knew my position were my lawyer, who voted my proxies, the founder, and the government. The IRS knows everything. I met Sally when I literally ran into her. I was 26 and just out of a failed engagement when my fiance decided that cheating before the wedding wasn't cheating. She learned differently when I called her father and told him why the wedding was off. It was fortunate that we had only just started the planning, so her parents were not out a lot of money. I was going into the airport when Sally dropped a piece of luggage and had bent over to pick it up, when a distracted Kutz named Grant crashed into her. I apologized and helped her get to the security line. After we both got through security, we headed in the same direction, as we now only had our carry-on bags. I offered to take hers as far as I was going. When I told her what gate, she started laughing. I thought, she said, "Don't tell me you're going to Dallas on the 9:30 flight. I am too. By the way, I'm Sally Henderson. I know you didn't disrupt me on purpose, so if you would, when we get to Dallas, would you stick around me until my sister shows up? There is an angry old boyfriend that works at the Dallas airport, and if he sees me, he is liable to try to hurt me." She continued, "I know it is a lot to ask, but my sister is having a baby, and her husband is deployed overseas, so I am needed to help her. I'm just afraid that Tommy will see me. My sister tells me that he has flown into our home airport and tried to find me. I know it sounds strange, but you have been so nice to me that I thought I could trust you." I agreed to stick with her, as I had nowhere to be. I had to be in Dallas until the next morning. I also hated abusive. When we boarded, she was in the seat across the aisle from me. I always took an aisle seat because of the restricted legroom on the tin cans that the airlines use today. We talked the entire flight. As we started deplaning and walking down the ramp, a man in an airline ground crew uniform came toward us. I put my arm around Sally and stared at the guy. When he saw my move, he slowed, and as we got closer, he saw how big I was and turned, beating a quick retreat. Then, one of the guys broke into a run, and as we started to turn, I gave Sally my cell phone number and told her to call me if she felt the old boyfriend was going to be a problem. It turned out that when I was ready to head back home, Sally was staying to continue to help her sister. Her brother-in-law's brother and a couple of his friends decided to visit the ex. It worked. A week later, Sally called and thanked me for the help I gave her, and she mentioned that the ex-boyfriend had requested and received a transfer to the West Coast. When Sally returned a few months later, she called and asked me to join her for lunch. We met for lunch and things seemed to click between us. I found out she was 22 and had been in only one long-term relationship, and he was now in San Diego, driving a luggage truck at the airport. I told her she had no problem, so we hit it off right away, and we went on to split $150 over the course of the next couple months. He was now in San Diego, driving a luggage truck at the airport. We went to dinner. Later that week, we went out again, and that started a year of dating. That led to me asking her to marry me. She said yes, and the planning began. Then Murphy decided that a cheating fiancé wasn't enough of a joke, and I got testicular cancer. The surgery and chemo were terrible, but Sally was there through it all. She kept saying that it just delayed the plans, not ruined them. The cancer was caught early, but I lost a testicle and was rendered sterile. I was and am not impotent, just sterile. After a year of being cancer-free, we started planning again. Murphy decided to leave me alone. Another small delay was convincing Sally that I was serious about not cheating to the point that I demanded a prenup, with severe penalties for adultery. I had to explain to Sally that it was a deal breaker and no signature, no wedding. She signed finally after a 2. We deep freeze the wedding was great and the honeymoon was in Bice. We swam, snorkeled, and had many adult beverages. I discovered that I liked alcohol too much, so when the holiday was over, I quit drinking. I never stopped anyone around me from EMBIBing, I just didn't. A little over 2 years after the wedding, Sally told me her company was merging with another, and they were integrating the 2 staffs. She made a few comments about some specific people, but not anyone noteworthy. One thing that did happen was that when the merger actually started, her attitude went into the toilet. She began to make little nasty, snide comments and started to question every move I made on the out-of-town trips. She was also turning down lunch dates. This is when I was attending church and volunteering, and this became... When I was working at the office and in town, the worst part was the direct insults. That was what I was putting up with before the Friday night incident. After she left, I called a friend, Jack Harvey, who was a locksmith, and had him change all of the locks and install a new code in the garage door opener. He charged me as if he didn't know me from Adam, and said it was because Sally told him about my cheating. Didn't change the bill, but he understood that I was being wrongly accused when I showed him the crappy Photoshop pictures. I was pissed that she had tried to do that. That meant that I was now going to burn her and him down to the ground. I would enforce the prenup. The divorce lawyer was going to go on my speed dial Monday. My boss had gone through a messy divorce, and only a shark of a lawyer saved him from a vindictive ex-wife and her lover. I would use his recommendation for an attorney. I also decided to, with her, I called her boss, who was also a friend and customer. Terry Smitter told me that the blending of the 2 companies went well, except for 2 of the newcomers, George Daniels and Grace Ritter. They were not happy that they weren't given management positions and were making trouble for a couple of the old-timers. He added that they were both facing termination as they had several disciplinary problems. I told him I was going to make his day. I explained what had happened that night and about the Photoshop pictures. He asked me to send them to him and gave me his company email address. I scanned and sent them, and he called me back. It was his troublemakers, and the head in the picture came from the wedding picture off of Sally's desk. He said that if I wanted, he would fire both of the troublemakers. I said yes, but if they went, Sally needed to go too. I told him what she said tonight. I even told him about showing her the tattoo on George's arm from the screwed-up picture. I garbage bagged all of Sally's stuff that I could find and put it inside the garage door. I locked up, unplugged the house phones, and went to bed. Saturday morning, I woke at my usual 6:30, and there was no noise. I checked my cell phone and found 7 messages, all from Sally. I didn't delete them, but I didn't listen to them right away. I was just finishing my breakfast when the house phone rang. As soon as I plugged it back in, I answered, and it was Sally's mother. So you guys... Edna was and is a loving, caring person who I had almost adopted as a second mother. She was crying. I told her to calm down and tell me what was wrong. It took a couple of minutes, but when she was finally coherent, she said Sally had told her about last night. She went on to explain that Sally had told her she went out and had sex to pay you back for your cheating. Then, when she had let the man, he laughed and called her a dumb and showed her the original pictures. Sally was devastated and cried on the phone to me that she had ruined her marriage, she continued. She said she tried to call you and left at least half a dozen messages. She also said the girl was terrified of me and told her to find her own way home. But she said she left. She rode on the town 20 miles away and told her to find her own way home. Is all this true? I replied, I am sorry, but the fact that she cheated is true. She told me it was because she had pictures that supposedly showed me messing with a woman. The picture was a terrible Photoshopped mess. I showed her that the guy couldn't be taller than 5'9" and had a tattoo on his left arm. She wouldn't listen, and as she walked to his car, she flipped me the bird. She did indeed destroy our marriage. I'm going to a lawyer on Monday and will not take her back. She has obviously been listening to people at her work and has treated me like crap for the last 6 months or more. If you're on a As Edna started sniffling, I continued, I have changed all of the locks, and she will not be allowed back in this house. I will also enforce the prenup, which means she will have no claim on the house, alimony, my pensions, or me. I'm sorry if this hurts you and David, but this is the second time I've had a woman cheat on me, and I told Sally I would not allow that to go unpunished. I have never cheated on her. When you talk to her again, tell her that her stuff is in the garage. But she will need to come when I am here, as I have changed the codes. She also won't be able to get into the house because I've changed the locks. I was winding down, but got one last shot across her bow. Sally has also been telling people that I cheated on her. It almost cost me one good friend, and if it affects any more of my friendships or my work, my revenge is not nearly done. First, Ida said she would let Sally know what was going on and ended the call. I decided to listen to Sally's messages. They were all filled with crying, I'm sorry, and begging me to forgive her. Sally and I talked for a long time, and I was filled with gratitude. They asked if I knew if I wanted to be released. I told them for years. The last message was a surprise. George told me after me that I could find my own way home, and then he added, if you have a home. I don't even know how I would get back. I don't even know where I am. That last call came in around 4:30 in the morning. I felt I couldn't leave her out there somewhere, so I called her back. She answered and started crying. Sally, stop crying. You need to give me any information you have. You screwed up our marriage beyond fixing, but I will come and get you and take you to your mother's. She gave me the motel name and the cross streets, and I was able to Google the city and directions. I found her outside what looked like a rent-a-room-by-the-hour dive in a bad part of town. She started to say something, but I held up my hand to stop her. I'm here because you were once my reason for living. You destroyed that over the last months or so and bombed out what was left with your actions and words last night. I want you to get in, buckle up, shut up, and leave when I take you to your mother's. Do you understand? Don't say anything. Just nod if you do. If you say you're sorry one time, I will pull over and put you out of the car. I am furious with you, and it's not just that you broke your vows. You've treated me like I was dog crap on your shoe for more than 3 months. We are done. It's too late to be sorry. She got in and silently cried all the way to her mother's. As she got out, I took her hand. I am going to a lawyer on Monday. I am filing under adultery. If you don't fight it, I will give you 1 year of alimony. If you fight it, I will strictly enforce the prenup. Goodbye. Remember, I loved you, and you threw it all away without even thinking about it. I even showed you that I was not the person in that picture, and that picture is, I do prefer lawyers. And all you did was flip me the bird and get in the asshole's car. Then you him and were surprised when he told you the same thing about the picture. I really hope you get some therapy. You have allowed others to cause you to make very bad decisions. I don't hate you, but I don't love you either. After the divorce, if I never hear your name or see you, I won't miss you. Then, one last thing, you'd better tell all the people you told that I was cheating the truth. I've already had one friend tell me he lost me as a friend because of what you told him when I showed him the stupid picture. He laughed and told me he was sorry he listened to you. Oh, I closed the car door and drove away. I filed that Monday, and Sally was served on Wednesday at her mother's house. The 3 conspirators were fired, and George somehow managed to trip and fall, breaking both arms and his nose. Grace was married, And when the reason she was fired and the picture showed up at her house, she was sued for divorce as well. Um, la- Someone, probably her lawyer, told Sally to fight the divorce. I withdrew the alimony offer and went for strict enforcement of the prenup. They requested marriage counseling. I told the judge that I was not the one that needed counseling. I asked, why would I agree to that when I was subjected to the abuse and cheating? She agreed and told Sally that any counseling that needed to occur was just for her. She said that if she could, she would order her into that counseling. She also awarded me the house and both cars and all of the monies we had accumulated during our marriage. Sally discovered that we were very well off and that she screwed herself out of a comfortable life. Sally never came to the house for her stuff, and I finally gave it to the local women's shelter. Um, the divorce was final, and I did not hear from Sally again until after more than 2 years. Her mother called. Edna told me Sally was in a hospice with inoperable brain cancer. She was still lucid but wouldn't be for long. She probably only had 3 or 4 weeks left. Edna also said that Sally needed to talk to me one last time. I went to the facility and saw Sally. She was just a shadow of the beautiful woman she had been. She did smile when she saw me. I took her hand and sat down next to her bed. She sniffled and said, "Grant, I have never stopped loving you. I am so sorry for what I did to you. I know, and looking back, I think I knew even then that you would never have cheated on me. I was blinded by the end flattery. Mmm. Mmm. Woo! I know it doesn't change anything, but I will die regretting every hurt I inflicted on you. Go now and find a good woman and love her as you loved me before I destroyed it." With that, she closed her eyes and went to sleep. I stood, leaned over, and gave her a gentle kiss. She seemed to have a small smile on her face as I wiped the tears from my eyes and left. She died 3 weeks later, and I was given a large insurance policy payout that I didn't even know she had bought. The money went to the local women's shelter. I did not need it. And I met Sally when she was trying to escape and abuse her. It just felt like the right thing to do. It just felt like the right thing to do. I moved on. Our company was bought out, and Terry and I, as the biggest shareholders, got very rich. I moved to Biz, and I'm a beach bum with a couple of local widows who like to entertain me in my condo. On the wall over the couch is a picture of Sally and me from our wedding day. Ironically, it is a blown-up version of the picture Sally always had on her desk. I found that after my anger was over, while I could not forgive her, I still loved and missed her. Every year on our anniversary, I fly back and put flowers on her grave. It is getting less painful, but it still hurts. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't leave you with one final thought. If you want to kill yourself, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.